Hey y'all, I wanted to give y'all an update on some of the things I've propagated, and I guess about midsummer, and then some things I've propagated in some of the videos that y'all have seen. I've had to move things into the greenhouse, although now this is just Alabama weather. It's so crazy. We had 2 nights where we had patchy frost, and I knew we were going to get it, so I went ahead and moved my propagations into the greenhouse because I wasn't ready to move them inside. They'll actually stay in the greenhouse until it gets too cold for them to be out here because I don't heat my greenhouse. Then they'll move inside. But for right now, they're out here, and they may end up having to be set back outside because it's so hot. I mean, we don't use our greenhouses during the summertime here in the South because it's just too hot. Today it got up to, I want to say, maybe the mid 70s. And in this greenhouse, it was close to 120 degrees. In fact, it's still over 100, and the sun is starting to go down. So it's just something we deal with here. But then it gets too cold in the wintertime to keep things out here. If it's not, if it's a more tender plant, you'll have to take it inside unless you plan on heating it, which is just, it's too expensive to do that. But these are some of the things that I've propagated, and I wanted to show y'all these are actually growing and actually could be potted into little pots. This is vermillionaire. This is the first year I've ever grown vermillionaire. And I didn't know I figured I could propagate it because you can propagate most things. This is something that I never had in my area before available at the garden centers. And so a lot of the things that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find next year or not. I always try to go ahead and take cuttings off of them and then just overwinter them. And vermillionaire was one of them. And so these I did weeks and weeks ago, and you can see they could actually stand to be pinched back. So these will probably need to be put in little pots. I'll probably just put them all in one little pot for the winter time, and I'll keep my stuff, my propagations, when I bring them inside, will stay in these little seed trays because it's just so much easier to do that. But you can see some things propagated great. This is why you want to take multiple cuttings when you go to propagate something, because most of the time you're not going to have 100% success. Now with a vermillionaire, I've got one little cup here. I think that's a weed. I've got one little cup here where it doesn't seem to have propagated, but all the rest where some of them have 2 and 3 in them, they've propagated. This is stevia. Now this is an example of why you want to take multiple cuttings. I probably put 2 cuttings in each little seed starting thing, and I only had 2 that rooted, and you can see they're rooted. They're starting to shoot out new leaves now, but the other 3 are empty. So I may or may not take more cuttings from the stevia. We'll see. Now I had great success with this sun patient here, and I don't know the variety of this one. It was just listed as sun patient. And you can see it's actually fixing to start blooming all over. I just labeled it the dark pink because it's got a dark pink flower. It's really pretty. And it did a really round, mounding, compact plant. I loved it. So, and I had never grown it before. So I thought, well, I'll take cuttings. And I had great success with those. these are some of the ones I think I might have done in a video of the candy, what are they called? The candy something, sun patients. And I'm pretty sure these have already rooted. They've not started shooting out new leaves yet, but they will. And this is Abelia. You can see that right there. Down here. These are Abelia cuttings. And now, I just wanted to experiment with that. But they've propagated as well. You can see it's starting to put new little leaves all over them. But I think this is one that I had much rather just pull down the limb and do the, scraping of the branch and put it in a pot propagation, because you'd have a much bigger plant once it propagated, like I did in the hydrangea video. If you watched that, if you didn't, I'll try to link it in the description, because you can do that with any plant that you can pull down that has limbs close enough to where you can pull them to the ground. You can just propagate them that way. It's so much easier, and like I said, you have a much bigger plant. This right here, these are clematis, and these have rooted. This was one that I also had never tried to take cuttings off of before, and so this was an experiment for me, but it worked great. I did the dark purple and the light purple, and I forgot the name, but they're in my garden tour videos with the correct name if you've watched those. But yeah, I had good luck with those, and I was proud of that, because clematis is, something, since it's going to be growing up, you can stick it just about anywhere, even if you have a small garden. And then this right here, this is a fig, and I don't know what the variety is. I took cuttings off of my cousin's fig. It gets really big, and it has green fruit, and they're delicious. And so I took 4 cuttings, and you can see all 4 of these have rooted. So I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with 4. Maybe I'll give a couple to somebody. But I definitely was proud of those cuttings. And this back here, this is lantana. I had a pink and white one. I've showed it in the garden tour. And in maybe some of the sun tolerant video I did. I had never tried to do cuttings off of a lantana either, but all of these have rooted except for the one in this pot, and that's because the pot cracked. I don't know if you can see that. And the dirt washed out, so the cutting wasn't under the dirt, or I probably would have had almost 100% success with the lantana. And I enjoyed it. I'm planning on spreading it in different places this next spring in the yard. And these are just different petunias and calibrachoas that I had taken cuttings off of. And you can see in this one, I only had 2 that rooted. And so some of these I'm going to have to take more cuttings off of. Again, this is why you want to take multiple cuttings, rather than just one, because you're probably not going to, you're just not going to have 100% success on everything that you propagate. This is more petunias. My phone overheated in the greenhouse, so I'm back, but those 2 right there, those are hardy hibiscus. And I had also never propagated those before. They were a little more, they were not hard to propagate. But I did actually set these pots in containers and put a lid on them in the shade to kind of keep in the humidity. But you could drop them into a gallon baggie or anything like that. And if you, stayed on top of keeping them watered during the summertime, you wouldn't even probably have to do that. You could probably just leave them in the shade and keep them watered. But I forget sometimes because it's, it just gets so busy in the summertime. And here is some begonias, and I think these are the double impatiens right here that I've propagated. I'm going to do some more of those. And right here is, I can't remember what this sweet potato vine is called, but I actually had propagated this last year, and these are cuttings from the one that I overwintered. I only overwintered one. And so I went ahead and took some propagations because these are the ones that don't get very long. I'll have to put on the screen if I can find it, what these are called. But I love the leaves on them. And these only get, I don't even know if these get 2 foot long. I mean, they stay short. They're compact, which I really liked that about, because they don't take over the whole pot when you put it in a pot. And these right here, this is hyssop, the Blue Fortune. Now, I took cuttings off of these, and I'm thinking all of these have propagated. So that's going to be a big money saver. If you have, a garden where you're going to be able to plant, multiples of each kind of plant, this is such a big money saver. And it's so easy to propagate most plants. These are the ones I did in the video, the Caryopteris. And you can see I've got one that didn't propagate and another one that may or may not. But the other forward look really good, so I think I'm going to be fine with those. And these are some that I had done a few days before those, before I did the video. And you can see it was a 50% success here, because I've got 2 that for sure have rooted and they're putting on new leaves, and 2 that didn't make it. And then here we've just got different kinds of sun patience, petunias, different kinds of petunias. All of these have rooted. Some I've already put in little pots, and they'll stay in these little pots for the winter. And I did some of the sparkling amethyst. Is that what it's called? And you can see it's very easy to propagate. And so, a big money saver, because there's multiple plants in each pot. There's more than one plant in each one of these little pots. And so here, I've done some more begonias and more of the verbena. And I've got different kinds of verbena. I'm not sure if this is the cobalt or the raspberry. I should have labeled it, and I think it probably was labeled in the little seed tray. But once I moved it to the pot, I don't know why I didn't put the label in it, but I didn't. So I have to wait for those to bloom to see what they actually are. And more petunias. And here's some more. This is another hardy hibiscus. And here I've got 3 hardy hibiscus in this one, and all 3 of these have rooted. I had one that the roots were growing out of the bottom of the pot, but that one's not it. But you can see this one is starting to put on some new leaves. Now, don't worry about, see, this was the leaf that was on there when I stuck it in to propagate. And it's pretty crispy. I mean, it's, for the most part, had it. But you can see all the new leaves that are coming on that stem. And so, and these are expensive. You go to the garden center and you pay $25 or more for a pot of these. And, or, depending on what size, you might get one for, $15. But, here's 3 in a pot that didn't cost anything. I just took them off of the ones that I already have. So if you're looking for a way to save money, especially now that plants are so expensive, this is a great way to do it. Just, take some cuttings, stick them in dirt, stick them in the shade. If you're in a zone where you're fixing to actually get too cold to do this, you can always just bring them, inside and stick them in front of a window. And if you're just wanting to do perennials, then just don't worry about it till next spring. Next spring, when your perennials start leafing out, once they get several inches long, just go out there and take you a couple cuttings. This is if you're not wanting to mess with propagating and bringing it in the house for the winter. Just, take you some cuttings next spring and, just like I've showed you how to do, and stick them in the shade and keep them watered. And in a few weeks, you'll be able to plant them directly in the ground. And you'll be so proud that you did that, because you will save so much money by doing that. Because it's so simple to do. And so, I'm going to really enjoy this. I try to do this every year, but this year I've really added a lot of things that I had never propagated before. And I saw, they're just as easy to do as the rest of them, for the most part. And so, I thought I'd share with y'all some updates on some of these propagations that I've taken. And just show how much money you can save for next spring. And so, I hope this helps. Until next time, bye.